I use this one framework to drastically increase the profit of any service-based business I see. Because the truth is, revenue is vanity and profit is sanity. I call it the profit quadrant. And after this video, not only are you going to understand the profit quadrant, but you're going to be able to walk away and apply this to your business today to make sure that you are making the most amount of margin possible, because it's not about the amount of revenue you generate, it's what you keep. If you don't know who I am, my name's Nicholas Kirchner. I'm a 3-time multi-7-figure founder, sold my first business at the age of 21. So I know a thing or two about not only making money, but being able to keep it within the business. Today, I run Hydra. We're a consulting firm and portfolio company that helps agencies, consultants, and B2B service providers scale their revenue and profit. So let's just zoom out for a second. If your business isn't generating the amount of profit that you want right now, understand that profit is something that you engineer. It's something that you create within your business. It's not something that you hope for at the end of the day. And a lot of business owners sit there and look at their P&L at the end of every month and they're like, where'd the money go? Like, how am I not making more money for all this effort that I'm putting in? And it's because you might not be applying the things that we are about to talk about. So the first thing we're going to dive into is the profit quadrant. Now, if you can see this chart here, we have 4 pieces to this: labor, overhead, pricing, and efficiency. So we're going to go through exactly what to optimize within each of these segments. So let's cover labor first. Now, understand that labor is by far the number one cost in any service-based B2B business, any agency, any consulting firm. So these questions are going to prompt you to question your current labor structure and identify new potential opportunities to save more profit. So a few rules of thumb that I go by: hiring new positions only when they can be over 50% billable. Now, what does 50% billable mean? This means well over half their time is spent completing client work. So you have billable time and you have non-billable time. And non-billable time is all of your internal meetings, your trainings, anything that's not client work, whereas billable hours are anything that is client work related. The next thing is, can we get more capacity to complete our projects or engagement through using freelancers, which are 100% billable because I'm only paying them when they're completing work for me for a client. That way we don't have to add any additional full-time labor or any overhead. Also, can we source our labor from other geographies like LATAM, Asia, that provide a similar standard of work? Look, it's no secret offshoring labor is one of the easiest cost savings in any company for more of the low leverage tasks versus the high capacity knowledge working tasks. The next piece is, do we have enough people to work on? A lot of companies that I work with in the beginning are overstaffed for the amount of clients that they actually have. So you need to ask yourself, is that you? Do we have too many people for the amount of clients we're working with? And when I average everyone across my team, am I at least 60% billable? What I mean by this is when you factor in managers, when you factor in salespeople, when you factor in everyone within your company that does client work, when you average that, is that above 60%? If not, you probably have too many top-heavy positions that aren't contributing to generating revenue and involved in the client work, making your margins suffer. And lastly, and arguably most importantly right now that I'm considering, is what can be automated or replaced using AI. Now, a lot of positions can't be entirely eliminated yet, but now one person can do the work of 3 or 5 people, depending on the role. So you want to make sure that you're using AI to the biggest and best capabilities that you can. The next piece that we want to look at is reviewing our expenditures. So what are expenses that fall outside of our labor that need to be looked at? Your operating expenses. What software subscriptions can I cancel? Good practice, go through this once a month and be able to see, hey, we actually use these softwares or we don't. I don't even want to know how much money I've wasted over the years on software subscriptions I haven't even logged into, probably tens of thousands of dollars. The next one: what expenses contribute to your growth versus what's unnecessary? Now, this depends on the season that you're in, right? Are things a little bit tighter right now and we don't have excess cash, so we don't want to invest in more experimental things and we only want to be investing in things that are proven? That's one consideration, in which case I might be peeling expenses back more. Whereas if I'm in a phase of expansion and I'm reinvesting profit for more growth within the business strategically, then I might be willing to spend on things that don't have as direct of an ROI. Also, have you established a budget for each department of the business so you know what you plan to spend? Are the trainings and programs that you've invested in continuing to deliver value well in excess of the cost? Also, do you need to be paying for your office? If you are, ideally this is under 5 to 10% max of your monthly gross profit. And also, are you being too fancy too soon, right? Are you investing in things that you shouldn't be investing in and you should be stacking that profit instead? Oftentimes, especially with newer entrepreneurs, once you start making money, you start spending it as fast as you make it on things that aren't actually returning that capital to you. So you need to be very careful and watch where you're allocating your chips. The next piece, and often neglected piece of increasing your profit, is optimizing your pricing. Now, I just recorded a brand new video on how to 3x your prices that I'm gonna have linked right here on screen. So you can go ahead and watch that if you want my full breakdown of how to increase your prices. But on this note, you wanna review your retainer pricing to make sure that you're not underpricing the work based on the amount of hours that it takes your team to fulfill. So you want to look at, okay, how many hours does it take to fulfill? What are their average billable rates? And how am I going to get to my actual retainer price? The next thing we want to do is make sure we don't have excessive scope creep on projects that are going to decrease your margins. So do I have clients getting extra deliverables left, right, and center? Do I often go to extra deliverables just to compensate for a mistake in the relationship? You have to be thinking about these things because on a one-off situation that might not be bad, but if you're bending the rules for every single client, you ultimately end up fulfilling custom services that are more work, that are more expensive, and once again, eat into your margins. Also, are you cutting clients who are consistently unprofitable each and every month based on time if you are measuring it? Also, are you marking up pass-through expenses to clients to account for risk? For example, I have a lot of agencies that I've worked with in the past that manage softwares for clients, or they manage ad spend for clients and they invoice them after the fact. Now, what if a client doesn't pay that invoice? Well, you're out in the open liable for those charges. So you need to be marking up those expenses 15, 25% to compensate for the risk. And a lot of people don't do that. So make sure you implement that if you haven't. Also, can we increase our fees that we're charging for the amount of hours that go into each project? So what I mean is if I have someone at $50 an hour and I build them out at $250 an hour, can I increase that to $300 an hour and still be able to sell that service in, which once again goes back to my other video on pricing that I recommend that you check out. Hey, just wanted to grab a quick second of your time and we'll be right back to the video. But if you find any value in this content at all, then I want to invite you to one of our DNA days in person here in Nashville, where we deep dive into your business, identify what bottleneck is holding you back from growth, and then give you all of our proven systems, processes, and trainings to go ahead and solve that and support after the fact to make sure you realize that growth. So if that's interesting to you, go ahead, click the link in the description, and now back to the video. Lastly, revisit your pricing after you've sold the last 1 to 2 deals at your current rates. Did it take longer or shorter than expected in terms of the hours that the team put into the project? Then adjust those fees accordingly. And I have a whole calculator built out on this. So if you're interested in that, shoot me a comment. Maybe I'll record a video on how I do that inside of the pricing calculator. The last piece here is going to be optimizing your service offering and improving your systems. So I'm going to ask myself, what upsells could I sell that generate more profit with little to no cost? Think affiliate software subscriptions that you use. Think about productized services or trainings or consulting if you have some sort of a done for you offer, or if you have a done with you offer, can you sell the done for you component? And can you increase and solidify our client LTV through longer agreements? Also, what additional services could we add to our offer that are in line or beneficial to our core offer? Now, make sure you stay niche down here, but an easy example would be, hey, we're going to do SMS campaigns if we already provide brands email campaigns, right? That's very adjacent, very easy to increase the average billable, increase lifetime value, and also generate more profit because it's likely that the team isn't going to take as much time to set up SMS for emails they're already creating. So just one tactical example of that. Also, how can we increase the amount of revenue that we generate per employee? Now, this is a KPI that I track across all of our clients at Hydra, because if this number is low, I just know that we're not utilizing our team in the best way to generate the maximum amount of revenue and profit. So typically top performing B2B service firms are going to be around $300,000 to $400,000 a year per employee in terms of value that they generate, whereas smaller companies might be at 100K. But if you're under 100K, I would say you really need to assess how well you are optimizing your service offerings, your systems, your capacity, because that all contributes to your margin at the end of the day. And lastly, improving your systems. So what systems can we automate the work where we reduce the need for employee labor? How can we get more done with less people? With AI now, this is more common and more important than ever, because this is going to allow us to basically double our client roster, triple our client roster even, without having to hire more people. And that's where the margin is created, given that labor is the number one expense in any service-based business. Also, what inefficiencies do we know exist within our current business that we haven't fixed? This could be extra steps in our SOPs, outdated SOPs, bad processes, and this is going to help make our team more efficient, allowing for more work output and overall more revenue supported by that same team. So we've reached the end of the checklist, and hopefully you found 2 or 3 things that you can walk away, go and implement today to generate more revenue and profit in your business. So if you enjoyed the video, it would mean the world to me if you left a like and subscribe. So if you want the exact checklist that I just ran through, go ahead and click the link down below, and I will see you in the next video.